I want to tell you about a little boy named Kevin. He was 4 years old, and every single day of his short little life, he had been trying to get closer to his father, scooting across the couch toward him, following him around the house, doing all the things that little boys do when they love their dad and just want him to notice. And every single day his father would pull away, move to the other end of the couch, create distance. Not because he was a cruel man, but because he had a question living inside him that nobody had answered yet. And that unanswered question was slowly destroying a little boy, who had absolutely nothing to do with it. My name is Patricia Monroe. I was a family court judge for 23 years. I am retired now. And this is one of the stories I carried off that bench with me. Because this one was not just about a DNA test. This one was about two people who had known each other since they were children, who got engaged, who were supposed to build a life together, and instead spent 4 years fighting over a question that could have been answered a long time ago if people had just been honest from the beginning. And before I get to the end of this story, I want to tell you right now, somebody in this case made a choice that crossed a legal line. And by the time they left my courtroom, they were facing consequences that had nothing to do with the DNA result, and everything to do with what they had done to try to hide the truth. So stay with me, because this story has a twist that I did not see coming even after 23 years on that bench. Tevin and Simone had known each other since they were kids. Childhood friends who slowly became something more. By the time they were adults, they were engaged. Tevin had gotten down on one knee and asked this woman to marry him, and she had said yes. They had a whole future planned out in their heads. A wedding. A family. A life built on a foundation of knowing each other longer than most couples ever get to know each other before they commit. Then Tevin had to go away for a period of time. And while he was gone, Simone was at home alone with no job and not much money coming in. She said she was struggling. She said the bills were piling up and she had no way to handle them on her own. And so she made a decision that started everything that followed. She let two men move into the home she shared with Tevin. Now Simone's explanation was simple. She said they were close family friends. She said they were helping her out financially, basic things like toilet paper and groceries, and in return she gave them a place to sleep. That was the arrangement she described. Two friends helping a woman in need while her fiancé was away. Nothing more than that. But when Tevin came home and found two men living in his house, he did not see it that way at all. He confronted one of the men directly and asked him straight out, "Are you sleeping with my fiancé?" And the man said yes. Simone said that man was lying. She said he had feelings for her that she did not return, and he was saying those things deliberately to break her and Tevin apart. She looked at me in my courtroom and said she could not control somebody else's feelings. And that as long as she was doing what she was supposed to do, there was no reason for any of this. But then something else came out. Tevin told me that Simone's own best friend, her closest friend, the woman who knew everything about her life, had called him one day and said she wanted to tell him everything. And what this friend told him was that Simone had been sleeping with multiple men while he was away. Not just the two living in the house. Multiple men. Now I have to be fair here because fair is what I was paid to be. Tevin was not completely clean in this situation either. When I pushed him about his relationship with this friend who had given him all that information, he admitted that something had happened between them. Not everything, he said, but something. And I had to address that in open court because you cannot stand in my courtroom demanding honesty from the person across from you while hiding your own truth at the same time. So there they were. Two people. Both carrying things they were not completely proud of. Both pointing fingers across a courtroom. And in the middle of all of it, a little boy at home who just wanted his dad to stop moving away when he tried to sit next to him. Now here is where the story takes the turn I mentioned at the beginning. The turn that made even me raise my eyebrows after 23 years of seeing everything. Simone told my court that she had already taken a DNA test. She said the state child support system had already tested Tevin, and the results had come back 99.9% confirming he was Kevin's father. She was so confident she said she had even posted the results on Facebook. She could not understand why we were even here. But Tevin did not believe those results. He told me the paperwork looked wrong. There was no official government stamp on it. The wording seemed off. And then he told me something that changed the entire shape of the story. He said Simone's best friend, the same friend who had given him all that information about the other men, had a history of forging documents. He had seen her do it before. And he believed she had forged those DNA results to help Simone. Now I did not take that accusation lightly. My court contacted the relevant state office and asked them directly how long it normally takes to get DNA results through the child support system. They told us 2 weeks to 1 month. Standard processing time, 2 to 4 weeks. Simone's results had taken 7 months. 7 months. For a process that takes 2 to 4 weeks. I asked Simone directly, if you were so confident in those results, why did you never take them to Tevin in a sealed official envelope and let him see for himself that they were real and legitimate? She did not have a good answer for that. And in my experience, when someone does not have a good answer for a simple question, it is usually because the honest answer is the one they do not want to give. So we had forged document allegations, a 7-month processing time that made no sense, a best friend with a history of document fraud, and a man who had spent 4 years not fully trusting results that he now had real reason to question. And sitting in the middle of all of that was a 4-year-old boy at home. 4 years old. Old enough to understand that something was wrong even if he had no idea what it was. His mother told me in my courtroom that Kevin had become sheltered because of all of this. That he had closed himself off. That when Tevin got short-tempered with him, Kevin would try to get closer and Tevin would move away. She said it was hard as a mother to watch. And I believed her. Because that image, a little boy scooting toward his father and the father scooting away, is one of the images from my 23 years that I genuinely cannot shake. Tevin told me straight out at the start of the hearing that if Kevin was not his biological son, it was over. The engagement, the relationship, everything they had built since childhood, finished. Gone. Like it never happened. He said it without hesitation and I believed he meant every word. But he also told me he loved her. Despite everything. Despite the men in the house. Despite 4 years of fighting. Despite all of it. He looked at me and said, I love this woman. I have known her since we were kids. And I really hope this is my son. That combination, the ultimatum and the love sitting right next to each other in the same sentence, told me everything I needed to know about how much was at stake in that courtroom that day. I called for the envelope. I opened it. And I read the results out loud. Tevin, you are Kevin's father. Simone reached across that table and grabbed him before I had even finished speaking. Crying. Saying I love you over and over. I love you so much. I'm sorry, baby. And Tevin held her. This man who had spent 4 years creating distance between himself and his own son, 4 years of doubt and accusations and nearly walking away from a relationship that started when they were just kids. He held her and said, it is okay. It is okay. And then he looked at me and said, can we go home and get married now? And the whole courtroom laughed. Including me. But here is what happened after that moment. Because the results being in Simone's favor did not mean she walked out of my courtroom without facing anything. The question of those DNA documents did not go away just because the real result was the same as what she had been claiming all along. My court referred the matter for formal investigation into whether the original documents presented in the state child support case had been tampered with or falsified. And let me explain why that matters even if the truth turned out to be correct. In the legal system, it does not matter if you were right about the thing you were trying to prove. If you falsified documents to prove it, you broke the law. Period. Presenting forged or falsified paternity documents in a state child support proceeding is a serious offense. It can mean fraud charges. It can mean falsification of legal records. It can mean perjury for any statements made under oath in those proceedings. The investigation that followed Simone out of my courtroom was looking at all of those possibilities. On top of that, the original child support order that had been set up based on those documents was suspended immediately, while the investigation was ongoing. Nothing involving that case could move forward until the integrity of those original documents was confirmed or denied. I told Simone directly before she left, "Get a lawyer today. Not tomorrow. Today. Because what is following you out of this building is serious, and you need someone in your corner who understands exactly what you are facing." She had been telling the truth about the most important thing. Tevin was Kevin's father. She was right about that. But the way she had tried to prove it, or the way someone close to her had tried to prove it on her behalf, had created a legal problem that the truth alone could not make disappear. That is the part of this story that stayed with me. Not the fraud investigation. Not the legal consequences. The part that stayed with me was a 4-year-old boy named Kevin who was at home right now not knowing that a judge had just opened an envelope and read 5 words that were going to change the way his father looked at him for the rest of his life. Before they left, I made sure they understood something very clearly. I told them both that Kevin knowing he is loved and fully claimed by his father is not optional. It is not something they can get to eventually when the relationship is better and the fighting has stopped. It needed to start today. Right now. Today. Because children do not wait. The damage that had been done to that little boy over 4 years of feeling his father pull away from him was real, and it needed real work to repair it. I connected them with counseling before they walked out of my courtroom, and I told them this result today is the beginning, not the end. You now have the answer you came here for. What you do with it from this point forward is completely up to you. But that little boy has waited 4 years for his father to fully show up for him. Do not make him wait one more day. Tevin looked at me and said, "Swear to God I am going to step up." And I believed him. I still believe him. Because I have learned in 23 years of watching people in the worst moments of their lives that sometimes all a good person needs is the one thing that was standing between them and showing up fully to finally be removed. For Tevin, that thing was the doubt. And the doubt was gone now. Completely and officially gone. That little boy scooting across the couch toward his father was about to find out what it felt like when his father finally scooted back. My name is Patricia Monroe. I was a family court judge for 23 years. I am retired now. And this was one of the stories I carried off that bench with me. There are more. I will see you in the next one.